Hey, good morning. This is a foreigner in the Philippines. Well, it's not so much an early morning. It's a late night. It's the aftermath of a late night when I was waiting for a call from Beth. She was at an all-night meeting, a prayer meeting on another island. And it turns out that was quite a trek to get to that other island. It turned out they went on a small ferry, and it was an hour and a half on the water, and a lot of that was almost in darkness because I didn't drop her off until about 5:30. So that was an adventure for her. Now we're going to rent a boat and get somebody to take us out to that island, because it turns out that the island is at high tide is a lot of it is underwater. So the houses are all built on stilts. The church is built on stilts, and some very basic living there as far as sanitation and everything goes. Apparently, going to the toilet is just a hole in the floor, and it's a little bit like, have you ever seen those, well, maybe you haven't, maybe it's before your time, but in my time, if you went on a train and you went to the toilet, it begged you, please don't go to the toilet when the train is in the station. I guess that was because whatever you contributed to the weight load of the train was ejected very quickly onto the track. So the same advice almost applied to Beth's trip to the toilet, where she looked down and they were there at low tide. So she chose not to go at that precise moment. Her description of what happened is much more graphic than mine. Maybe she'll share that with you another time. Well, we thought that might make a good video, because apparently there's only about 30 families living on this island. There's a church, no school. They have to go to another island for a school. This is what life can be like in the Philippines. Well, anyway, that's bringing us up to date. We're going to go into Talabon. Beth is having a nap now, and so when she feels able, I'll drive her down to Talabon, and we'll have stuff to do down there. Well, what prompted me to make this video is because years ago, as a background to what I'm talking about, when I was a musician, my name was, I was known as Terry Flannery, and obviously Flannery is a very Irish name. Well, back then, I shouldn't have been affected by this, but I wanted a more international name. Silly, really, when I think about it now, but that's what happens with time. So I decided that I would change my name, and I did it by deed poll to Martin, and after that, in the music industry, I was known as Terry Martin, but I started off as Terry Flannery. Now, my parents are both of Irish heritage, hence Donovan, two names, Donovan and Flannery. So mix those together and you get me. And I had a brother and a sister. Both of them have passed on now. So anyway, so here I am in America, and I'm legally known as Terry Martin, or Terence Martin. And over time I began to feel a little bit nostalgic about that name. Maybe I even felt a little bit regretful. My parents had both passed on, and here I am, you know, with a strange name. So I started to use my family name, Flannery, for my artwork and writing. So I did short stories and stuff like that, and I did it under the name Terence Flannery, and I really began to like it. And the more that I used it, the more I felt comfortable again. And so when I made the move from let me see, I made the move from California, and I moved to Florida, and I just used Flannery, so everybody there knew me as Flannery. So I don't know why this would lead to any confusion, but it sometimes does. So right now, if ever I write to anyone, I usually have to say, oh, by the way, I use Flannery as my professional name, a writer's name. Not everybody uses their own name when they write, or when they do any kind of artwork. They don't always use their own name. So now I'm in the ironic situation of I have my made-up name of Terence Martin, and I'm using my real name, the name that's on my birth certificate, Flannery. So maybe that'll explain to a few people why there are two names, and it really isn't very difficult to understand. So why am I talking about names? Well, it's an ironic thing to me that here I am in the Philippines where names are incredible. I mean, people have the most incredible names, and yet they seek to have the English names. So I guess it's what you're not used to, you go for. So I actually looked at the comments section of our channel, and I just looked. Now, I don't know any of these people, and I'm just reading out their names. Of course, if they've written the name, then they're quite happy with it, and so I doubt that I'm going to be offending anybody. Now, when names, there are whole channels which deal with the meaning of names. Excuse me. And I'm not trying to put any supposedly historical interpretation on a name, but sometimes names invoke a particular kind of reaction in me, and so here I'm thinking, look, the first name that I wrote down that I enjoyed, and I think that she's a recent subscriber, and her profile photo is of a family of 3 people, but her name, and forgive me if I don't get the pronunciation always right, but her name is Elaine Peñaranda Fukushima. Well, wow, look at what that name is. Fukushima. Now, doesn't take anything to work out that that's Japanese, does it? Now, in most cases, because I'm on my telephone and we have a poor signal, I can't actually pull up the profile, so I can't see any big photos. So I'm landed with just looking at those tiny thumbprint pictures that are in the profile, about an inch square, if that. So what are we looking at? Well, Elaine I think of as being very English, and then Peñaranda seems to me to be Spanish. Now, you can argue with me all day long and I'll say, yes, you're right. And Fukushima, but I thought, what a wonderful name, Elaine Peñaranda Fukushima. Wonderful for me. Now the next one, the next one is a recent subscriber too, and his name, or the name, maybe not a man. I'm not quite sure, but Yoli Bistoronga. Yoli Bistorong. Now I thought that was such a fun name. I immediately thought of a real entertainer, but it has an old sound to it. So I thought of the court jester, making everybody laugh. Yoli. Well, Yoli is so close to jolly. That's a very, very small step to take. Now this next one, as I say, forgive me for the pronunciation, but her name is Jessalyn Hortizano. Now, let me try that again. Jessalyn Hortizano. And I thought that sounded kind of Filipino, Spanish Filipino, but the little picture along shows what I think is Jessalyn in the foreground, and then a line of people which, because of that tiny picture, look like children. But a fun name, I thought. Now, the next one is a bit grander, I think, in that it's longer. And you'll have to forgive me on the pronunciation of this. I'm really doing my best. But it's Althea Gonzaga Orchids. Wow, that's quite a name, isn't it? Althea Gonzaga Orchids. Orchids, you have to think of flowers, and that's a very romantic name. Well done. The next one, now I don't know this lady personally, as I've said on all of these, but this lady has commented and has been commenting for a long time, ever since we've been on the channel. Miguela de los Reyes. I love that name. Miguela de los Reyes. Nice name. And hi. Now, this next one, it has a photograph of a lady in glasses, very pretty woman, and her name is Ella Asporia de Vera. Ella Asporia de Vera. Ella Asporia de Vera. So I looked at that face and I thought of music, and I thought of laughter, and I put a little note here. It says bursting with joy, because she looks like she's suppressing a laugh. This is a lady that's wearing glasses, and it looks like she has she's holding in a laugh about a lot of things, and I put that little note there saying bursting with joy and music and laughter. So Ella, great name. What's the next one? Oh, the next one, I thought, I have a note here. It says Lady of a Royal Court. Now I could imagine this woman being announced in a court, in perhaps in a movie. What an imagination I've got. Don't let me loose. I should really be kept in somebody's attic. You know that, don't you? Well, anyway, the name. Florida Conejas Catarining. No, let me try it again. Florida Conejas Catarining. And I put Lady of a Royal Court. And I put on the thing there, really, before you say that name, it should really be a fanfare. Florida Conejas Catarining. Nice one, Florida. What's the next one? Well, some names, it's not, they're fairly ordinary to me because of my heritage. I'm British, and Alfred is a very British name. Well, but the surname is not British. In fact, quite an unusual name. It's Alfred Serkin. Alfred Serkin. And what attracted me to this name is that there's a kissing picture, and it's a very whimsical photograph of Alfred receiving a kiss from his lovely lady, and the picture is a very happy one. Wow, I'm all for that. Now the next one I've written down, Nans Lambert. And that's kind of English, but this lady is obviously Filipino. And I've got serious and pretty. Let me see, what else? Serious and pretty, and she has been very supportive of our site, and said a lot of very nice things. But she wears quite large, what I would have called horn-rimmed glasses, but they're a thinner rim, and she looks very serious. Hi, Nans. What's the next one? And underneath that is, because it was next to this on is Princess Wayne, or Princess Wine, W-E-I-G-N-E, Princess Wine. Now, princess, if that was, I'm taking that she's a Filipino lady, because princess and calling yourself king and other lovely, using lovely, I know my in-laws, one of my in-laws, my sister-in-law is Lovely May. So princess is not an unusual one, and we have that lovely child that is my niece-in-law, and her name is Baby. So nice name. Now the next one, I might need a bit of help on this, and I'm probably going to get corrected to death on it. But this is a man that I'm taking it that he's French, because it looks like French, right? But it's Delaro de Howland. Now, sorry if I've messed that up, but I hope I haven't messed it up in an ugly way. Delaro de Howland. And I know that this man is a great follower, an avid fan of Elvis Presley. So next to that name I have Elvis. Well, the next two names are what I think of as kind of English whimsy, come poetic. And what we have is Doug Blythe. And Blythe is an older name with very romantic associations, Blithe spirit. And so it says, my little note on that is English poetic. Nice one, Doug. And the next one, this seems very English to me too, because the surname Larkin has a derivative of lark, and when you get lark, you get singing, you get joyful freedom of a bird, and the lady's name is Judith Larkin. And I have a little note here, it says, great smile, pure of heart. And when I look at Judith, that's what I think. I think there's a lady who is pure of heart. Now, Norm Belmer. Now, I would like to think that that is Norm Bellamere, as if it were Italian. So Bellamere. When I was in, I was a musician. We used to work in, I worked in a drinking club in the centre of London, the Rheingold Club, and this was one where all of the waiters were Italian, and the waiter that I became friends with was Roberto, and we always used to call from the stage whenever he passed in the early part of the night when there was nobody there, and say, Roberto, Roberto. That was my little go at Italian. So, Roberto, Bellamere, Norm Bellamere, Italian-American I have. Now here's a fun name, Art Adonio. Art, so we'll say Arturo Adonio. Odonio. And I put Italian fun. Now the next one says pretty, and it is Nemia Williams Mahusay, or Mahusay. Mahusay. Nemia Williams Mahusay. And it says underneath, pretty. Now, the last one that I would put in, these are two pretty westernized names. And the reason I put this in is because in their profile picture they have a family shot, and this is a couple who, to my knowledge, recently had a child, and their posts are just bursting with the joy of a happy family. And they are Rachel and Kevin. And Rachel and Kevin post lots of photographs of an adorable baby. And obviously these are two extremely happy people because they have a great marriage. And as I say, I don't know any of these people, only that I may have exchanged a few messages or replied to a comment. But this is one I always enjoy seeing, a comment from Rachel and Kevin and their adorable baby. So the next time you look at someone's name, think about what it evokes in you. For me, these names evoke all kinds of things: pretty, beautiful, fun. Like the one there, I said, Ella Asporia de Vera. That one, because of the lady that was in the photograph and her suppressed joy in the smile. I thought of music and laughter, and let me see, what did it say? Bursting with joy. That seems to me to be a great finish to this little talk on names and what's in a name. What indeed is in a name. Thank you for looking in. This is a foreign